There are two kinds of people who get lost in Zion: the fools and the unlucky. The fools stray off trail, underestimate the heat, mistake a topo map for a brochure. You find them sunburned, thirsty, humbled. But you find them. The unlucky, those are different. One wrong step, one unplanned storm, and the land erases them. A flash flood, a rock fall, a loose edge on a 1,000-foot drop. Brutal but honest. Nature doesn't care what kind of person you are. It just is. The Garson family were neither. Not fools, not unlucky. Just gone. They were due back on the third evening. Husband, wife, 2 kids. Their hiking plan was simple. A 2-day out and back through the Kolob canyons, hugging the main trails, a loop through some minor tributaries, then back to the trailhead. Rangers were alerted when they missed their checkout. When I saw their route, I expected to find them sunburned and sheepish, rationing water and arguing about whose idea it was to take a shortcut. That was 5 days ago. They'd been gone for 8. I was into my third day searching the grid, and it wasn't just turning up empty. It was pristine. No footprints, no gear dropped in panic, no torn clothing caught on branches. Just nothing. Like they'd stepped off the map. I was operating on gut at that point, not protocol. My team had fanned out across the known paths, even some of the lesser-used ones. But I pushed past all that, up into a maze of unnamed tributaries feeding the North Fork. Places too far, too rough, too obscure for a family of 4 to accidentally reach. But something kept me going, a sour feeling I couldn't shake. The kind that doesn't come from logic, but from time spent learning the language of rock and wind. I'd walked every corner of this canyon country for years. The terrain was more than familiar. It was part of me. Every broken stump, every scarred juniper, every scorch mark left by a long-gone lightning strike, mapped into my head like a second skin. But this felt like the land was holding something back. Like it had taken something and didn't want to give it back. Late that afternoon, I found the Garsons' camp. It was nestled inside a tight box canyon, the kind of spot you wouldn't see unless you were standing right in front of it. Navajo sandstone walls, high and dry, a natural amphitheater of silence. But the silence wasn't natural, not the soft hush of wilderness. It was a sealed vacuum. Dead stillness. No birdsong, no bugs, no sound of shifting gravel under lizard feet. Just air like thick insulation around your head. The tent was the first thing I saw. A 4-person dome pitched with textbook precision. The guy lines were taut, triple-checked, and squared, like something out of a military field manual. Not a speck of red dust clung to the rainfly. No prints around the perimeter. The zipper was shut, slider resting perfectly at the base. I rested a hand on the tent. Still. Cool. No vibration of movement from inside. I pulled the zipper. It opened clean, teeth intact, the sound sharp and unnatural in the quiet. Inside, 4 sleeping bags, not just unoccupied, but rolled tight, compressed, stacked like lumber. Clean. Labeled. Identical. Even the folds on the stuff sacks were symmetrical. Beside the tent, a fire ring of stones, untouched. Inside it, a pyramid of kindling and split wood, arranged with geometric care. The kind you don't learn unless someone drills it into you. 4 enamel plates stacked with surgical neatness, cutlery laid out beside them, each fork, knife, and spoon in parallel alignment. The metal gleamed. Not a scratch, not a smear. I picked up a fork. It felt unused, not like something someone ate from, like something bought new and placed there for show. Then I saw the boots, 4 pairs set beside the tent flap, 2 adult sizes, 2 smaller. Children's, lined up heel to toe in descending order, like a military inspection. The laces tied in matching bows, the soles wiped clean. None of it made sense. Not the disappearance, not the order, This wasn't a campsite, it was a presentation, like someone had reassembled the scene from memory, but didn't understand what it was supposed to feel like. It wasn't chaos, it wasn't fear, it was control, surgical, final. I stepped back, scanning for anything, any clue that could ground this scene in reality. Then I saw the drawing. It was pinned beneath a small rock, a single folded sheet of paper like a note left for someone. I lifted the rock and unfolded it. A child's drawing. Crayon lines. A stick figure family holding hands under a yellow sun. But it wasn't right. There was no wobble to the lines, no joy. The figures were too tall, too small. The sun wasn't a bright, messy scribble. It was a perfect circle. Not round. Perfect. Their smiles were identical arcs, no variance, no error. Like someone, something, saw the drawing, recognized the symbols, but not the meaning, and tried to correct it. I left it there. I couldn't touch it again. Beyond the camp, the canyon narrowed further, the sandstone walls pressed in, the light dimming, the stillness deepening. 50 yards ahead, the canyon ended in a sheer wall of rock. Water seeped from cracks, slicking the surface, but it was the air in front of it that stopped me. It shimmered, not from heat, not from moisture. A vertical distortion, about 5 feet across, like a tear in the fabric of the world. The rock behind it wavered, then blinked out. For a second I saw sky, but not our sky. Pale and colorless, lit by 2 suns, one cold white, the other bleeding red. I didn't panic. I did what I was trained to do. I observed. I extended my trekking pole, steady. The tip crossed the threshold and disappeared. Clean. No resistance. When I pulled it back, the carbide was gone. A flat, perfectly sheared edge. I backed away. Slowly. The stillness retreated with me. 50 yards back, the canyon breathed again. Wind returned. I raised my radio. Zion dispatch, this is Ranger Ryland. A beat of static. Then, go for dispatch. Mark. You find anything? I looked behind me toward the anomaly. I didn't have the right words, but I told the truth. I found the Garsons' location, I said. There are no casualties, but there's a problem. What kind of problem? The kind you don't have a protocol for. Then I said something I never thought I'd say. You need to clear this entire sector, and you need to call Nellis. 2 unmarked Blackhawks came in low over the canyon, blades chopping the still air into submission. They landed behind the Zion Visitor Center in a storm of dust that sent brochures and ball caps skittering across the asphalt. I was waiting, boots planted in the same lot where I'd given directions to tourists the week before. Now it was a staging area. The doors dropped before the skids touched asphalt. Men in desert pattern fatigues poured out, rifles low and steady, scanning a threat horizon that didn't exist. I watched the rhythm of it all, the way their boots moved in sync, the clipped urgency of command, the illusion of control. It felt like a bad memory I'd already lived once. A captain strode up, jaw clenched hard enough to fracture enamel. "You're with us, Ryland," he said. No introduction, no question, just a statement. The Zion Canyon Visitor Center was gone. Where the relief map of the park used to sit, now there were server racks humming with heat. Power cables twisted across the floor like roots, anchoring generators and battery banks. Soldiers walked perimeter patrols around interpretive signage. My sanctuary, my park, was now a forward operating base. Inside the old auditorium, the film projector was gone. In its place, a digital map of Zion glowed on a wall-sized screen, overlaid with thermals and GPS overlays, cold spots, radio nulls, lines of ingress and egress. Military logic stapled over a wild place that didn't care. An older man in a flight suit turned as I entered. Silver hair, colonel's eagles, a stiff, overconfident posture I'd seen too many times. "Colonel Roth," he said, and didn't offer a hand. "Your violence. Give me your report." I gave it to him, start to finish. The sterile camp, the flawless sleeping bags, the child's drawing that wasn't a drawing. I described the shimmer, the flash of alien sky, the sheared-off pole tip. I told him what I'd seen, but more than that, I told him what it felt like. The silence, the precision, the sense that something had overwritten reality, but didn't understand the original. He dismissed it, waved his hand like he was clearing smoke from the air. "Psychology is irrelevant," he said. "We're dealing with physical phenomena." He pointed to the map. A red dot hovered over the canyon. "Here, we have a thermal sink, energy suppression, localized, no consistent radiation, no organic markers. Class 4 containment breach. The family and their gear are collateral phenomena." Collateral phenomena. It hit me like a bad taste in my mouth. The words they used in briefing rooms after bad strikes. The language that turned human tragedy into bullet points on a PowerPoint slide. They had no idea what they were dealing with. "We can't land near it," I said. "That washboard ridge is unstable, and the canyon floor's the only real route in. On foot, north approach, maybe a 600-foot scree drop, but only if you know where your boots go." Roth nodded like he already knew what I'd say. "We have a team on the ground now, securing the perimeter. No DNA, no biological residue. It's clean." He motioned toward the corner of the room, where two men were sealing up equipment cases. They were wearing white biocontainment suits. No insignia, no names. They looked like ghosts. "We need a guide," Roth said, turning his back to me again. "All our systems fail inside a 2-meter radius of the event. You're our subject matter expert. You'll get the team to the site." On a whiteboard beside the server racks, the mission name was scrawled in block letters: Operation Blind Sentry. Too perfect to be funny. I looked at Roth. "It's always national security when you don't want to fill out the paperwork." He didn't flinch, just stared. "You're a former Air Force ground controller, Ryland. You understand the chain of command. You will guide my team to the objective. You will provide topographical and environmental expertise, and you will follow orders. Is that clear?" It was clear. I just traded one cage for another. Different bars. Same rules. "Clear," I said. The word hit the back of my teeth like cold iron. The next morning we moved out. 5 of us. 2 techs in white suits carrying sensor wands and sample kits. 3 security, Staff Sergeant Riggs, his radio man O'Connell, and another Air Force grunt who didn't talk. Riggs was sharp, built like a squared-off brick, eyes always scanning. I watched him do the math every time we paused. Distances, angles, threat vectors. But his battlefield didn't exist here. I was the compass, the human instrumentation. Their million-dollar toys were already known to fail inside the anomaly. That left me, the guy with boots, memory, and instinct. The first mile was normal. A canyon wren chirped above us. The sun painted sharp reliefs across the cliffs. The water ran cold around our ankles, and the techs fumbled their gear over boulders like men walking on a different planet. Then we crossed the line. There was no sign, no change in the terrain. But the world went quiet. Not gradually, immediately. The birds cut off mid-note. The wind stopped whispering. The air grew thick, not with moisture, but with absence. O'Connell paused, tapped his headset. "FOB Sentry, this is S1. Radio check." "Static," he repeated. "Nothing." Pulled the set off. "Dead," he said. "Not even static." Riggs checked his GPS. Screen scrambled. Compass, needle spinning before it died on a heading behind us. He looked at me. The confidence cracked. "Your turn, Ryland." I nodded. Sun angle, rock shape, soil texture. That's what I had. All things they couldn't measure. So we kept walking. That's when the wrongness got louder. I felt it in my feet, a low grinding deep in the bedrock. Not an earthquake. A movement too slow, too purposeful. Like something massive was shifting beneath us, turning over in its sleep. Then we found the stones, a dozen of them, resting in a shallow bend in the stream. Sandstone, same color as the cliffs, but perfectly round. Marble smooth. Not water-worn, sculpted, geometric, purposeful. One of the techs, Davidson, picked one up. His sensor spiked. "This density's impossible," he muttered. "It's solid, like every grain of sand's been compressed into a perfect crystal matrix." He fumbled, dropped it. It struck a rock and left a dent. No crack, no chip, just a dead thud, like stone hitting bone. We stared. This wasn't a geological feature. It was a message. The laws here weren't broken. They were being rewritten. Ahead, the air shimmered. Not just light distortion, more like the walls were melting. Lines curved, gravity bent. The canyon twisted into itself. I pressed forward, my internal map fighting the visual input. Every instinct screamed that this wasn't real, that straight paths don't curve, that gravity doesn't feel optional. But we had to see it through. Davidson stopped, reached for a switch on his pack. Click, scrape, click, scrape. He froze, arm jerking back and forth in a 2-second loop, mouth open, eyes locked on mine. "Davidson?" Riggs stepped forward. I stopped him. "Don't touch him." I didn't know why, just knew. Davidson stuttered in place, looped in terror, a broken clock of human panic. Then he dropped. The loop snapped. He screamed and curled into himself like he'd been doused with fire. O'Connell stumbled back, knees buckling. He knelt at a pool of still water, splashed his face, then looked down. One scream, cut short. He didn't move, still kneeling, hands in water, eyes locked forward. Gone, not dead. Worse. Whatever he saw stripped him hollow. The universe cracked open and showed him his size. He was a casualty, just like that. The mission was over. Riggs moved beside me. "What now?" "Get Davidson up," I said. "You're taking both of them back to the fringe, back to where the world still works." He hesitated. His rank meant nothing now. He looked at me, the only one left standing who understood the terrain and understood fear. "What about you?" "I have to see the source." He nodded. Didn't argue. They left, stumbling. One broken, one gone, one holding them both up. I went forward. The canyon narrowed. The shimmer thickened. The rock underfoot shifted. Stone turning to sand, sand turning to steel. A dream logic. A puzzle with changing rules. Gravity bent. Light twisted. And I kept walking deeper into the veil. The canyon folded in on itself. I pushed through the last skin of shimmering air, like wading into water too still to ripple. Beyond it, the world lost its grip on consistency. Shapes flexed, light bent. The walls melted in slow, silent motion. Landmarks I knew by heart, juniper stands, rock shelves, a half-collapsed overhang I once used as a storm shelter, were still there. But wrong, warped, like someone had recreated Zion from memory using tools that didn't quite understand dimension. The ground underfoot wasn't trustworthy. A section of gravel felt like stone, then gave way like ash. Slopes leaned the wrong direction. My own sense of orientation began to unravel, not with dizziness, but with a slow detachment. The way a dream forgets gravity, one detail at a time. But I kept walking, pulled forward not by curiosity anymore, but by the compulsion to finish what I'd started. Then, without warning, the hum returned. It didn't move through air, it moved through me. A low, constant pressure, a vibration that resonated in bone and blood and brain. It wasn't a sound, it was intent. I reached the center. A vertical tear floated 20 feet off the canyon wall, 5 feet tall, perfectly still. A rip in the world that drank light without casting shadow. Not glowing, not swirling, just missing. A negative space that should not exist. Everything around it, rock, light, even thought, seemed to recoil in its presence. I took one step closer and it noticed me. The world didn't vanish, it was overwritten. Suddenly I stood on a plane of black and gray glass, the texture of polished bone. Towering structures stretched into a sky split between two suns, one white-hot and sharp, the other red and bloated. The city was impossible geometry, skeletal towers formed from interlocking latticework, their angles cruel and elegant. There was no decay, no erosion, no dust, just raw, uncorrupted form. Above me, no clouds, no birds, no air, only the twin lights casting intersecting shadows that didn't behave, one sharp, the other slow and bleeding. And in that city, I felt them. The wardens, not shapes, not beings, but presence. Awareness threaded through the filigree. I watched the nearest structure shift infinitesimally, microscopic rearrangements, as if a cathedral had furrowed its brow. They were seeing me not with eyes, but through math, through order, through correction. This was not a place, it was a system, a thought. They were the thought, and I understood. We are the infection. Our universe, soaked in entropy, emotion, chaos, is a contamination. We breed disorder. We touch and change everything. We draw lines, build maps, dream impossible dreams. And to them that chaos is disease. We weren't attacked. The Garsons weren't taken. They were excised. The campsite had been scrubbed, not to hide it, but to clean it. Sanitized. The precision of it wasn't a message. It was a reaction, immune response. This wasn't war, this was immune function. I fell to my knees on that alien ground, head heavy with the gravitational pull of the cosmos. I could feel every celestial body, each exerting its influence. The sun, a massive pull. Jupiter tugging at my ribs, Neptune brushing gently against the back of my neck. I felt like a sack of pieces, barely held together by will. But my mind didn't shatter. Not yet. Then the hum shifted. Focused. A question formed, not in words, but in rearranged geometry, in subtle pulses of force. It asked why I had come, why I stood at the breach, and I realized this was still a test, not of intelligence, not of strength, but of purpose. The portal released me. The glimpse ended like a power cut. The canyon snapped back into place. I collapsed, gasping, dust in my mouth, heat on my skin. My hands shook. My heart slammed in my chest like a door trying to escape its frame. The tear still floated in front of me, untouched, unchanged, and my radio crackled. "Ryland, do you copy? What is your status? Over." Roth. His voice was small now, a man trying to bark orders across a cosmic divide. "We're reading you. Report." Beside me, I saw the technicians' gear. Their packs had been dropped during the retreat. Strapped to one side was the probe, a polished cylinder, maybe a foot long. Recessed glass lens at the front. High-yield environmental package, built to collect, sample, transmit, to break open the world and bring back answers. "Ryland," Roth said, "you are ordered to deploy the probe. Launch it into the anomaly. We need data." They still didn't understand. The glimpse had shown me what the wardens are, what they do. They don't negotiate. They don't analyze. They respond. We are rot in their bloodstream. We are noise in their signal. And the probe wasn't just a camera. It was an incursion, a challenge. To them, pushing that into their world would be like a virus trying to hack the immune system itself. Their response would be final, Sterilization. I picked up the probe. It was cool in my hands, balanced, beautiful in a way, a tool of science, of precision, of hubris. Ryland acknowledged the order. This is a direct. I swung the probe like a hammer. It struck the granite boulder beside me with a crack that echoed like a gunshot. I hit it again, and again. The aluminum cracked, glass shattered, components spilled like broken bones. I kept swinging until the tool was ruined, until nothing inside could function, until the thing we'd built to reach across the void was just wreckage. Then the air changed. The rift pulsed once like a heartbeat skipped. The shimmer flickered. The hum spiked and became sharp, a frequency that pierced my molars and nailed itself into my spine. Then came the implosion. Reality collapsed inward. Wind screamed as the canyon exhaled. The rift folded, crumpled like paper sucked into a fire. Through it, one last time, I saw the city, the towers, the twin suns, and then silence. Real silence. The canyon was still again. Dry wind whispered through the scrub. The sun, the one sun, was overhead, indifferent and real. I was alone. I stood over the wrecked probe, my hands bloodied, my breath slow, my ears ringing. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to clarity. I disobeyed, destroyed a multi-million-dollar asset, committed a career-ending act of vandalism, but it was right, and I was free. Sort of. They kept me at Nellis for 2 weeks. No charges, no cells, just interviews that weren't interviews. Gentle questions, repeating loops. The suits didn't want the truth. They wanted a shape they could file. Colonel Roth came on the last day. He looked smaller, the arrogance gone, his uniform crisp but tired. The official report, he said, states that Operation Blind Sentry encountered a localized spatio-temporal anomaly. The event collapsed under its own energy deficit. Probe loss occurred during the collapse. No loss of life. Staff Sergeant Riggs commended your leadership. He paused, looked up. O'Connell's in permanent care, doesn't speak. Davidson's been discharged, can't stand reflections. Then he said the line they always say when they don't want to ask the question out loud. They tell me you're fine. I'm fine, I said. The cleanest lie I've ever told. He slid a document across the table. NDA, discharge, pension, freedom. You won't go back to Zion, he said. You won't speak of the Garsons. You won't speak of this. I signed, because I knew something he didn't. The leash was already there, invisible, permanent. I left the desert, bought a cabin on the Oregon coast. The air is heavy here, wet with salt. The trees aren't twisted and dry like junipers. They're massive, ancient things. The ocean roars instead of whispers. Some nights I walk the beach. I think about Zion, about the canyon, about the glimpse, about the city under 2 suns and the systems we'll never understand. I think about the order beyond comprehension and the silence that didn't hold peace, only precision. I still carry it with me. Not fear, not shame, knowledge. I'm the last living landmark of something no one else remembers. The wound in the world is gone, but the scar is mine now, permanent. And sometimes when I look at the horizon where the ocean meets the sky, I still feel the pull, like a whisper at the edge of hearing. But then I look up. Just one sun, bright, human, beautiful in its imperfection. It's enough. One sun is enough.